Hello friends, this is Rathod. Welcome to my C programming tutorial. So I'm using the Turbo C++ compiler. A compiler is basically like it just converts human readable language to a computer understandable language, that is binary, so that the computer can understand what exactly it has to do. People prefer code blocks, but I'm used to this and find it comfortable. So this is the first program that any book or tutorial will teach you. So I too will begin with it. This program prints hello world on the output screen. So this program begins with a preprocessor command, as it is called in technical terms. So there are a lot of functions already existing in the language library. Like this is the printf command, which prints anything written inside the inverted commas on the output screen. In this program, stdio.h header file is used, which stands for standard input output. So the printf function exists in this library. Similarly, like for finding the square root of a number, we may use math.h header file, which has the sqrt function. So these built-in functions make our task a bit easier. Here, one must understand that compilation does not begin from here. This is just informing the compiler that it must include the required standard library, as some of its functions are going to be used further in the program. Next, here is the main function. We will talk about functions in another video. Here it is just important to know that compilation of any program begins with the main function. Now functions may or may not return a value. Since the program does nothing but simple printing, we use the void return type. Here the return type is specified. It may be void, int, and character. Like there are 5 basic data types which I'll take up further in this video. This concept might be kind of hazy for you right now, but in the coming videos I'll make sure you understand the concept of functions and returning of values, etc. Just have patience. Any function starts and ends with curly braces, as you can see. Now the space between these corresponding braces, it is known as a block. The next line says printf hello world. This just tells the compiler to print hello world on the output screen. Printf is a predefined function used to print things on the output screen. Simple. Now we may add a \n over here, which represents new line. This tells the compiler to go to the next line on the output screen. Also, every statement in C language ends with a semicolon as shown. A semicolon terminates a statement. Also, all these text in the blue, which you can see, these are known as comments. These are single line comments. Multi-line comments are they begin with a slash and an asterisk, and you may write anything, and they end with an asterisk and a slash. Comments are nothing but lines which make the program readable to a user. Like I have written a complex program, it might not make sense to you without comments. Comments are ignored by the compiler. They mean nothing for the compiler, right? So let's run this. Here is the output, that is hello world. Okay, now let's switch to another program to talk about data types. So when we talk about data, we think of integer numbers, letters or characters, and real numbers with a decimal point, which in C language are called floating point numbers. So in C language, to store different types of data, we have data types. The 5 basic data types are integer, character, float, double, void. So void stands for nothing or null. It stores no data and returns no value. Integer stores integral values 1, 2, 3, etc. Character stores a single character. It may be an alphabet or any symbol or even blank space. that we type using the spacebar. Float stores floating point numbers, example 5.46 or 6.43. Conventionally, it stores numbers with maximum 6 decimal places. Double is used to store huge numbers that are not in range of integer data type. It stores floating point numbers too, though it isn't of much importance to us right now. I'll talk about declaring variables. So this is called declaration of a variable. This means we are telling the compiler that a variable named x of type integer exists, like which may store integer values. Okay. Same for y and z. Y stores character value, z stores float value. Variables are also called identifiers. And an identifier cannot be named as wished. Like I have named integer as integer identifier x. So it is bound by a few set of rules. So these are the identifier naming rules. Firstly, it never starts with a number, only alphabet or underscore, like j1. That is right, but 1j will not work. Secondly, it is case sensitive. The C language is case sensitive. Like a capital S and a small s are treated differently. Also, reserved keywords cannot be used. For example, for, exit, if, these words already have a predefined meaning for the C compiler. These cannot be used as identifier names. Fourth, white space is not allowed. Like there cannot be space in between a name. A line cannot be used as an identifier name. Now for initialization of a variable, that is assigning a value to the variable, there are two basic methods. Like if the programmer wishes to assign a value to a variable, he or she may do it by using the assignment operator at first. That is nothing but an equal to sign. So the assignment operator, what it does is it takes the value from the right and puts the value to the left. So the value 10 goes into x. Like this is a right statement, but if we say 10 equals x, this is not true. This is not possible. Like this means that the operator will take the value from x and put it into 10, which is wrong. It is a logical error. So to initialize values beforehand, we may either write it like this, or we can also write it as this. It is the same. Right. Now for character, we write character C equals A. The value of a character is represented in single inverted commas. So here one must not get confused between C and A. C is the name of the variable and A is the value that is stored inside of C. In most of the cases, we require the user to input the values. So in this case, we can use the scanf function, which is yet another function in the stdio library used to input values and assign it to the variable. Also, to tell the compiler what kind of input to expect, that is, what kind of data type will the user input and where it must be stored, we have a specific syntax to be followed. Now, this is how the scanf function works. Scanf in double inverted commas %d and then comma and ampersand x. This and sign stands for ampersand. Now what %d does is that it specifies that integer value is going to be input. For character, %c is used. For float, %f is used, and so on. Now ampersand x, it can be read as address of x. So basically, the compiler will take an integer value and store it in the address of x. Every variable is assigned a piece of memory at a specific address. So this here is the entire memory, and somewhere here x is assigned a piece. So when we write ampersand x, it points out to this block named x where the value is to be stored. Percentage %d is used for integers, similarly percentage %c is used for character, and others as shown in this table. So this is a simple program to read a number from the user and display it on the screen. As you can see, there is no ampersand in the printf statement, as using it will print the address of the variable and not its value. So in scanf, when we are using ampersand x, we require the address of x where the value will be stored. But in printf, we just require the value that is stored inside of x, which is going to be printed. So we do not use ampersand. Let's run this. So I input the value 5 and the output is 5.